Welcome to the show, Faithletic, the podcast, live and in color. And we may be having just a couple of technical difficulties here, but on the phone, holy cow, it's still doing it. So if you keep hitting a little clicker, guys, just hang tight, and hopefully I can figure out why it's doing that. But we are live on the phone here tonight with, via phone, my co-host, Mr. Casey, Kyle Cook, and they had special guest call-in, head basketball coach at Bethany High School here in Oklahoma City, Coach Quinn Wooldridge. Welcome to the show, Quinn. Can you hear us okay, loud and clear there?
I can hear you.
Can everybody hear everybody? I feel like I'm on a conference call. Yeah, it was a conference,
that's
conference call.
That's the way this life. Yeah, that's the way this life works right now. Is it just a bunch of conference calls?
Hello, are you there? Hello,
Hello, I'm there.
Have you seen that?
I'm still here.
Have either one of you seen that? Oh, got it. I wished I knew why it was doing that. That is just crazy. Have you seen that video on YouTube where it does a parody on the conference call? Have you ever seen it?
I don't think that I have.
Quinn, have you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
I'll have to post that on our page. It's absolutely hilarious because it shows the guys in the room, and then it shows them like outside in the hallway going, "Hello, are you there? Are you there?" And you know how a conference call is that, you know, somebody comes in and goes, "Hello, can anybody hear me?" You know, and then they say something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. So, Coach Quinn Wooldridge, who has been on our show a few times before, actually been on this show in person in our Faithletic Sports Palace studios. We're actually, Quinn, in Studio B tonight, as we were last week. Yes. Ooh. You're imposed. If you're watching on Facebook Live, your picture, your mug is on there. And actually have a couple other mugs everybody's going to see here in a minute. Actually, one from your playing days is on there as well. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And then a couple of them. One thing that's unique about Coach Quinn is he is the strongest basketball coach in America, or at least he used to be.
Oh no, I'm returning there.
Yeah.
This Corona break has given me free time to get back in the gym.
Yeah, in your home gym. I hope you're quarantining yourself in that gym.
Oh, so. Yeah. Well, the gym's in my garage, so everything's all good.
Yep. So Quinn won, and I don't remember what year it was because it's been so long since he trained with us, but he actually won the World Cup Powerlifting Championships, Kyle. He's a world champ.
Man, you both are world champs in my book.
And then he also holds a couple of state records, and he's a big stud.
Yeah, it felt like that was about 2002.
Yeah, I don't think it's that far back.
Just feels like it, I guess.
Yeah. But Quinn is current head basketball coach, Bethany High School. It's those that are not familiar with the Oklahoman are coming to us from across the country. Tell us about Bethany, Oklahoma. What's unique about Bethany?
Well, it's a unique little school district. You know, we're K through 12, even though we're here in the middle of Oklahoma City, and it gives me a chance to be in the district with all three of my kids. They're in all three of the buildings we've got on campus. So it's been a really neat thing for me, getting a chance to coach the middle school guys and the high school guys at the same time. So it's been a lot of fun these last 2 years. Yeah, you get to control them from what year you're up, and then what year do you start with them? Yeah, start in 7th grade.
Yeah, and you got the opportunity to coach both your boys this year, right?
Well, yeah, little guy was a 7th grader. He got to coach his team and be a part of the 8th and 9th grade teams too, as well as the JV and the varsity. So I had my hands full, especially January. I think I coached 27 games. I think in January.
Ouch!
So it was a full month.
Ouch.
Man, middle school basketball is special too. By the way, it takes.
I like that terminology.
Yeah, it takes a whole new level of patience to coach a middle school basketball team.
Yeah, because a lot of those guys, it's kind of their first introduction to true, like, organized, like, team basketball. You know, a lot of them have played, different leagues and things like that on the weekends and church league and stuff like that. But it's, you get in there, we're on your school team, it's a different animal, that's for sure.
Man, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have Quinn on here, well, is a couple of good reasons. Why is he's a real close friend of mine. He's one of the founders of Teen Black Mentorship. We got this thing started. In fact, if you're on us live, you can actually see a picture I just posted up with myself, Quinn, and Kevin Foster, the big three, the original three, whatever you want to call us. And Quinn was kind of, well, he wasn't kind of, he was with us the day we kind of thought this whole thing up. And I don't think we ever thought that it would mold itself into what it is today. We had this idea of working and training together. Next thing you know, we're doing a live event. Next thing you know, we've got 15 kids we're working with. So it didn't happen overnight, but Quinn certainly was in the beginning stages of that process. And you kind of seen the different aspects of it over the last, I guess it's like almost 8 years now. We started our first event 2013. We were together before that, training together. And I like to think that it's kind of like Jim Davis said last week, the founder of the Good Athlete Project. He said back when he was in college, the process of the Good Athlete Project started then. I'd like to think that probably back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was just coaching a couple of people, that's where Team Black started, and it just kind of processed and evolved into what it is today. But so, Coach, so people that are aware, they're here in Oklahoma, the basketball season got cut kind of short. And tell us about that process. Tell us what happened there.
Well, for us, we played in the area tournament. We won on Friday night and qualified for a state tournament bid. And, spent the next week practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and getting things ready to roll. We were going to play our first round game on Thursday at 2 o'clock against Broken Bow. We were going to be at Deer Creek High School.
Right.
And I guess Wednesday night is when the Thunder game take place at the Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And we had taken our guys out to eat at Ted's as kind of a end of season dinner to lead into playing in the state tournament. And while we were there at Ted's, all that stuff started happening with the Thunder game, and we were watching it on TV out there. And that was something. Saw all that stuff happen. They sent 18,000 people home, and I'm sitting at the table with my assistants. And, we kind of had a feeling that something would be up the next day, but nothing ever came to pass. And got up there wasn't an announcement or anything that night, and got up the next morning, and everything was still kind of on go. And I just kept watching Twitter, kept watching the news, watching all that kind of stuff, just waiting to see what was going to happen with our games. And the OSSAA made a couple of different announcements. One early in the morning about how everything was still going to go ahead as planned, and then that they're still watching things. And then there was an announcement that at 12:30 there would be a press conference, and that was what our leave time was going to be to leave from our school at Deer Creek. So we had all our kids in the locker room, getting ready to go and get on the bus and head up to Deer Creek and win our first round game. And about 12:15. Our athletic director came in there to our office and, kind of gave us the bad news that thing was going to get shut down. So,
wow.
From that moment, we had the uniform bag all packed, ready to roll. Bus was out in the parking lot. Everything was ready to go.
Yeah.
And, we ended up just having a little brief meeting with our kids right there. And instead of getting on the bus, we just kind of sent them home after from there. But, it was an unfortunate deal, completely out of our control or anything like that. That's kind of what makes it so tough is, it wasn't the case that, we went out there in the first round and didn't play well and got beat. Our season was over.
Yep.
One of those things where there's really there's no closure to it. So it's just a hard thing that, 21-year coaching veteran, it's kind of a hard thing every season, either end with you winning your last game, you celebrating, or losing your last game and being just off for you year. This year we ended on a really high note.
Yeah.
And a great feeling, and knowing we'd advance in the state tournament, but then you don't end up having that closure on the end of knowing whether you were going to be good enough to do what you thought you were going to be able to do, or whether you weren't. You're just kind of hanging in limbo a little bit. So.
Well, I can't imagine, Quinn, what you had, how you had to go out in front of your roster and explain to them that, we won't be playing today. I can't even imagine what that feeling was. It had to be difficult to do.
Well, the hard part of it is that we didn't really know any more than the kids. So
yeah,
right.
And there just wasn't, there wasn't a lot of information out there or anything. It was just, they used the terminology to begin with. The state tournament was being postponed, so there was just this little glimmer of hope out there for the kids and the coaches and parents and everybody that, hey, we might get a chance to play this thing. Everything might just be shut down for the weekend or 2 weeks. And, there was they put one thing out there that possibly, the 16th, 17th, and 18th of April that we might do it, like coming back after spring break. And there was just there was always just this little glimmer of hope that was out there for our kids and me.
Yeah.
And then, all that stuff kept getting pushed back. Obviously now you see them, now that we're further on and in the middle of all this, you can see that, there's not anything going to happen in the near future. But, at that point, when all that stuff was just starting to happen, we all thought, hey, maybe this might just be like a week or so, and then everybody get over this. But it turned out to be something different. So everybody's life is just kind of on hold.
No kidding.
Kidding. That literally feels like a lifetime ago, but it was 3 weeks ago. That's pretty crazy to think about. But, Coach, I did have a question for you. What are your conversations with your kids look like now in retrospect? Obviously there's got to be just a lot of encouragement there, but how have those conversations gone since the end of the season?
Well, now just more than anything, just kind of checking in on guys now and then, because you don't get a chance to see those guys on a daily basis like you did there while we were in just regular school year. That we would even if we had played that first round game and lost, and we would have already been getting back to work of doing off season stuff. We'd been back in the weight room, would have been back in the gym working on individual skills, stuff like that, and just kind of playing pickup and things like that together. And we'd have been together and seen each other all the time. So.
Right.
It's a little odd to just be hanging out at the house and just got it's my family all here, and you don't get a chance to see your kids or anything. So you just try to touch base with them now and then, and it would be one thing if we were just out of school, if something had happened to our building and our building was shut down, we just couldn't use that to be one thing. But the guys. It's not like I can encourage those guys to go find another gym to play pickup in or a place to work out in. It's kind of a tough thing. I was checking in on them every once in a while and see how many video games they're playing and see what everybody's doing, just trying to see if everybody's finding a chance to at least get outside, get some exercise. And it's definitely a different thing, something I've never dealt with anything like this before.
Yeah, it is wild how this thing is it's put us all at an equal playing field because none of us have walked through a global pandemic, that's for sure. And so it is crazy that we even feel like sometimes we are on the same level as the kids because we don't know how to answer a lot of these questions right now. But I definitely commend you for catching up with them and just asking how they're doing because I think that's what everybody needs right now.
Yeah, and that's an easy thing to do right now too, just with mass communication stuff or, like text groups and stuff like that. With what everybody's got going on every day, almost everybody's just sitting there staring at their phone all day. So it's easy to catch up with guys doing that. It's not like during the school day, kids are in class all day. And, even if you're having to pass information along to them about, maybe what time you're going to practice or what time you're leaving for a game and like that, those guys are in class and they don't get your message right away. Now those guys are literally on their phone all day because nobody's got anything else to do. So you've got everybody right there at the palm of their hand and you can communicate back and forth with them. It makes it easy to stay in contact with them, but everybody's just kind of on the on the same schedule every day, just kind of in this wait and see kind of thing, just trying to stay healthy and stay inside. So
yeah, for sure.
So, what I know your season's over now. So, what do you? I mean, well, let me kind of back up. So, tell you a little bit of history why this thing is just a little disheartening. And I know Quinn. I've known him for about 10 years, and one of the things that they were definitely on the that had to be the favorite to win the state championship because I would just say their nemesis, their kryptonite has been Kingfisher. And you were, 0-3 or 0-4 previously with Kingfisher, 0-5, something like that?
Well, we had played them 5 times in 2 years, yeah.
Okay. And you're 0-4 leading up to this area championship game. They're the number 1 team in the state. They're defending state champ. And
they'd won 2 out of the last 3, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. And they didn't just get beat. Bethany beat them pretty soundly in that area tournament.
Well, it ended up 12.
Yeah.
We were down after the first quarter 5, and then up by 3 at the half, and tied after 3, and then pulled away from them in the 4th.
Right. But as far as I'm concerned, and I'll lead the petition if you need me to, Quinn, but I'm just going to go ahead and give the gold ball to Bethany because you beat the number 1 team in the state, the defending state champ, going into the state tournament, and you had to be the favorite to win the whole thing. So guess what? You're state champs.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing. I had seen some information online about the OSSA was kind of throwing around the idea of normally just with the state tournament, like, the winner's going to get a gold ball, second place is going to get the silver ball. But, they'd kind of thrown around the idea of maybe giving everybody, all the qualifiers, like all the players and participants and everything from all kind of played around with maybe giving everybody a medal. And, there were some people that weren't real excited about getting a medal.
No.
Because it feels a little participation-y.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a whole lot better than what I've got in my hand right now.
That's true.
Just because of the way things went down. We all qualified to get there, and then you don't have anything to show for it other than your memories. I mean, I'd take a medal about now in comparison to what we got.
Well, I mean, back in the day, the NCAA used to just rank them the way you saw them, right? You just gave them a. Heck, the President of the United States in 1969 gave the national championship to Texas, and they hadn't even beaten anybody yet. So, I mean, let's you beat the number 1 team defending state champ. I mean, I don't know if you can actually quantify giving it to anyone else, truthfully.
Yeah, and I feel like we were going into that state tournament, and we were playing as well the last 15 or 16 games as anybody in the state, and I felt like we were playing well. And I liked our chances, but you never know how things will work out.
No, you don't. That's why they play it.
It's forever going to be one of those what-if kind of years, I know that.
There's no doubt.
Sure. This year more than anything, it's just wild we're playing a big what-if game with everything right now.
So how many people are you losing on this roster for graduation?
We had 6 seniors, 4 of them that had, or two of them that were full-time starters for 3 years, 2 other guys that were part-time starters for 3 years. 4 guys that were just really, really experienced players that had been around and seen everything.
Right.
It's
leadership.
4 of our top. I'm going to say 4 of our top 8 guys. So a little bit of an experience void. A little bit. We still got 4 guys back that have played a ton the last 2 years with our group. But it'll be an opportunity for some guys that we're playing with our JV group this year to step in there and fill out the rest of the rotation next year. Where we basically had the same team for 2 years in a row. We lost a really experienced senior guard from last year that had started for 4 years. We lost him. And then this year, when we had 8 of our top 9 scorers back, and just kind of rolled with almost exactly the same group again that we had last year. So there was very little roster turnover, and guys that were playing on the JV team last year. A lot of those guys were back on the JV team again this year, being underclassmen. But those guys will get a chance at some varsity minutes next year. We're had a little bit of roster turnover and some positions will open up a little bit, but we'll have a little bit different look next year.
So, what Quinn's not telling you is he's got the secret weapon. So tell us a little bit about your boy.
Well, he's my son Michael will be a junior next year. And he's played 2 years here with this group. It's been really good. And got him, and then there's another kid named Peyton Tolley that is a 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, baseball guy. That he's also a big kid. And got 2 other guys that one was a full-time starter this year. Luke O'Neill was about 6'3", about 185 pounds or so, and then David Castillo was a part-time starter this year also that was a junior, going to be a senior. So we've got 4 guys that are coming back that are really experienced. And, like I said, it'd just be those 4 guys will be kind of some carryovers that kind of know the ropes. So there'll some other guys that are jumping in there that didn't get a chance to contribute much these last 2 years. But we'll have a little bit of a different kind of luck next year between my son Michael and then Peyton. We'll be playing 2 really big kids all the time next year, where these last 2 years, having those 2 guys that kind of rotated kind of in and out, kind of platoon one position. It's kind of a luxury to have 2 big guys like that that are competent players. For next year, that's going to be 2 of our top guys, and trying to figure out how to play 2 basically centers together. And modern basketball is not exactly as easy as it used to be now with the way everybody plays now, with the court spread wide and all kinds of spacing and everything. It'll be an interesting challenge, but we'll just have to kind of pivot and play a little differently than we have the last couple of years. But that's why they pay me the big bucks over there, is to try to figure stuff like that out. So.
For sure.
So go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I was just going to make a joke. I still keep thinking that we're going to wake up tomorrow and somebody's going to surprise us and say this is all a joke. So, maybe the season will still happen or something. I'm deep in the denial stage of the no sports grief.
Yeah, Kyle's about to pull his hair out.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said Kyle's about to pull his hair out.
Yeah. I mean, really, for sure. I've gone off the deep end a little bit.
It's one of those things you start to figure out when, it's been all shut down and cooped up and no sports on TV or anything for a while like it has been. Like, how much of just your downtime when you're bored, you don't have anything going on, you just flip over to ESPN and something going on and doing this or doing that. But it's you don't really realize how much time you're spending on that until it's not there. And because you turn on NBA TV and it's like a previously recorded game, or it's the 2003 All-Star game, like something when you already know the outcome or it's already happened. Your interest level has to be really high for you to sit there and watch that stuff. Even though it's good stuff, it's just stuff that's already happened.
There's no suspense.
They're trying to keep some programming going on there, but it's hard to keep your attention.
So I watched Tony Romo's first start the other night with the Cowboys.
Oh, you were desperate then, man.
So that was.
I'm getting to that level of desperation though. Like I just give me something, anything. I don't know. I think sports just break up the monotony of everything. I think that's the thing in everyday life. And now we're definitely living in this world that it feels like every day is the same. So now I'm needing sports more than ever. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I'm not trying to get philosophical, but maybe that's it.
Could be. So another thing that some of our new listeners may not be aware of is that Quinn played his collegiate days at Oklahoma Baptist University. He and his wife are the only husband-wife team that's actually in the OBU Sports Hall of Fame. So his wife was on a roster with the WNBA, correct?
She went to training camp with those girls, and then that was this was summer of 2000, I guess, and we had just gotten married, and she went after being in training camp with the LA Sparks for a little bit. She went to France for what amounts to a week, I think, and then was ready to just come back home. And be married. So
Yep.
kind of transitioned into married life after that, rather than, it was a little different thing for her. A lot of American kids grow up with their dreams of being, if I can't make the NBA, then going to play overseas. I mean,
Right.
with her being from Eastern Europe, she had played in that club ball and professional system for 3 or 4 years before she ever came to the States to play. So it was a little different deal for her as far as like wanting to go do that. And she was in France, which was still a long stretch away from where her family's at in Slovakia. So it wasn't like she was close and just could go there on the weekends or anything like that. So
Correct.
this ended up not being something she really wanted to continue to pursue, and was just ready to come here and start our little family and try to get started on a career in the exercise science business.
So Quinn is played in a Final Four, correct?
That's great.
NAIA Final Four, being in the OBU Hall of Fame, and then he has a few records there. I'll let him tell them about us because he has told me those records will never be broken. So tell us about them, Quinn.
It's not that they'll never be broken because I set them out there so far. It's just because now they've transitioned into NCAA Division II, where each season there's significantly less games than we played in some of our seasons.
Yeah.
For instance, my junior year when we played in the national championship game in 1997, we ended up we finished the season at 36-4. So we played 40 total games.
Golly.
And the 3 years that I was at OBU back there as the head coach, when we transitioned over to NCAA Division II, we played 26-game seasons.
Wow.
Our first 2 years, we were basically on what amounts to probation with that transition from NAIA to Division II. So we're just playing a regular season with no postseason. We played 26 games. So, you look at that over the course of if a kid comes there and plays 4 years, where, this year they qualified for the national tournament, which is the first time in the D2 year. And of course their tournament got canceled too, just like ours.
Mm.
Right.
They ended up playing, 29, maybe 30 games. But that's even at that, a kid's gonna play maybe 40 less games over a 4-year career than I did. I played 148 games in my 4-year career, and you multiply that out, it's almost a full season extra that I played. So
wow.
Some of the stuff that with me getting a chance to play a lot from day one that I got there on campus all the way through my senior year, and staying relatively healthy and not missing games and everything like that. I mean, it's more of just a longevity and health kind of thing. Now at the same time, you gotta get there on campus and be good enough to contribute from day one to do some of that stuff. But it's more like a logistical thing where it's going to be hard to do anything like that because I will have played a full season more than some of those guys that will come through there. So
he got the invisible 5th year.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and part of that was just because we were really good during those times too. And we'd make
games.
long playoff runs every year. And going through your conference tournament, playing 3 games, and going through the national tournament, playing 5 more games. And, another 8 games of postseason stuff. That went a long way towards some of that.
So those that are watching on Facebook Live, there's a picture there of I don't know what year you were in, but it's one of the ones I dragged off the internet. Didn't you wear different numbers, different years?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is whatever number I'm wearing,
3.
I'll tell you what year it was. That was my senior year.
Senior year. So, anyways, it looks like he's bringing a rebound down, or he's getting ready to go back up for a layup or something. So it's one that I caught off the internet. And then the next picture that if you're on our Facebook Live, he's one of the guest speakers at our Team Black events, and he's got Team Black membership T-shirt on. Quinn, anything else you want to, or Kyle, you got a question for him before we let Quinn go?
No, I think I asked my question earlier, and my heart goes out to those kids, those students right now that feel like maybe they've got robbed a little bit, because I feel like they certainly have. But also to you, Coach, I know that you put in a lot of hard work as well. So my thoughts and prayers definitely go out to everybody that's affected by this, from everything. So yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type stuff that's going through here now. This, and for the winter sports like we are, for instance, like in 4A, there's 64 teams in 4A. There was only 8 of us left. 56 of the 64 teams had, they played their season, gotten beat out in the playoffs, and they got some sort of like completion. Like they got to the end, somebody beat them out. Your season was over. Like, well, we did the best we could. Here's what we got to. But for the other 8 of us, and then 6A and 5A, and then 3A and 2A are all the same. I think there's maybe 44 teams or so somewhere in there that ended their season with a win.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the boys' side and the girls' side. On the boys' side, you got your Class A and Class B. They finished their tournaments the week before, so you had 2 champions there that won their last game, and then all the rest of us that qualified, we all won our last game. So it makes it a weird feeling for you, where you win your last game, but then you don't have a trophy in your trophy case back in the house to reward you for it. So it makes for a weird thing, but
I was just gonna say, I can't even imagine just like even put it like personalizing it right now as the teams that I follow, being the Thunder and Iowa basketball, how promising they were, and then to not even like, I kind of almost shed a tear for the Thunder last night after the run that they put on, that they had, and I'm sure that it's similar to what you guys put on. So like, I can't even imagine the weight and the emotion that you and your team are feeling. So
it's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been I'm not anywhere near close to getting over it, but and I don't know whether I will or not. Just because it's such a unique situation. You pour everything you've got into it, and basketball is a little bit different than all of our other sports. Even though we've got football going on, and we have a few guys that are out there on the football field, but for basketball, for our mentality when you get started, that doesn't start in December when games start. It's way back when practice starts, or as soon as you have your tryout in the fall and you kind of pare your squad size down and you start practicing a little bit. It's it's almost like a 7-month process. Even though you're not playing games at the beginning, still you're practicing and you're preparing to get your team ready, and then you get a little influx of numbers when football's over. I mean, it's such a marathon to try to get your guys to peak at just the right time, both physically and mentally, and then right when you have your peak for it to just kind of have the rug pulled out from under you. It's a different deal, and then also to have that rug pulled out from under you and your kids by something that's totally and absolutely out of your control. So that's the thing that really makes it the most difficult. It wasn't something happens and you get disqualified, or it's your season ends by something that's absolutely none of your kids' fault. So that's the hard thing, and that's hard to help those guys kind of wrap their brain around too. Just that that's long hours of sacrifice and that, and then since we just have so much like a culture of uncertainty right now, just on the world over, not just at Bethany High School. It's not just us. It's everybody's dealing with the same thing. So,
all over the country.
And it's not really anybody that's got any answers to what makes it hard. And it's not.
You still there, Q?
Yeah, I'm still.
Okay. Well, let's end this on a positive note. So last time you were here in studio at our Studio A, we played a little process called Overvalued, Undervalued, or Money. And with all this going on the last several weeks, Kyle and I haven't done it. We haven't played it. So as our special guest today, we're going to, Kyle and I, and I'll let Kyle come up with the first one if he's ready. He can go number 2 if he wants to. But we're going to do overvalued, undervalued, or money. And those of you who are listening for the first time, what we do is we give out a name, an entertainer, a coach, a player. It could be a movie. It could be food. It could be a TV show. It could be anything you want to make it, basically. And we ask overvalued, undervalued, or money. If it's overvalued, then it's not as good as everybody thinks it is. Undervalued is obviously undervalued or right on the money. You ready, Coach?
I'm ready.
All right, Kyle, you going first? You want me to?
You got it.
Okay. Coach Quinn Woolridge, overvalued, undervalued, or money, homemade pizza.
I'm going to say, for the most part, I'm going to go overvalued.
Haven't quite found the right ingredients, I take it.
That'd be a big fat no.
Yeah.
And at this point in my Bethany life, I'm comparing all pizza to Papa Angelo's, and they're all going to come up a little short.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Okay, Kyle.
Let's see. Overvalued, undervalued, or money. ESPN releasing Michael Jordan's documentary early.
I'd say that's money.
Yeah, I think so too.
I like the April 19th release date being moved up to there. I would have felt better about it if it was about April 10th or April 9th.
Right.
I think we're all at the same point in our entertainment lives right now that the April 19th sounds better, but every day earlier than that would have sounded even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow would have been great.
Yes, yesterday would have been nice too.
Yeah, exactly.
So they talked about doing this like a month, or when this all came out, right? And they start like...
It was supposed to be maybe like after the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And then when they realized, hey, there's an entertainment void, we need about 10 hours worth of entertainment here.
Please.
Bring it to you guys in a little 2-hour segment.
I am totally stoked about that, though, for sure. I think it's going to be awesome.
All right, so the last leg of overvalued, undervalued, or money. Coach Quinn Woolridge, strongest basketball coach in America.
I'm going to say that's a little overvalued.
Oh, I don't know, brother. I don't know.
Although I'm slowly but surely making some gains out here in my garage gym. I've got a couple, 2 to 3 training partners with me right now. I'm starting to turn the corner, head in the right direction.
So what's the chance that the strongest basketball coach in America makes a return on August 1st at the Iron Sharpens Iron Championships in Oklahoma City?
Well, at my current rate of training, I really don't have a whole lot of other things on my plate at this moment. I don't have a whole lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that I can do here in my little compound.
Yeah. There you go.
Other than obstacle courses with Gabby in the backyard, other than that and some craft projects, the only thing that would be holding me back on that would be that singlet of mine probably doesn't fit quite the same at 44 as it did at about 38.
That's okay. I've got some extras. we can work on that.
5 or 6 years passed, and those things aren't quite as flattering as they were.
Yeah, well, we got some that'll cover some of those flaws up. That's what they're good for. Folks, it's certainly always a privilege when we have Coach Quinn Woolridge on our program, head basketball coach, Bethany High School, just crowned the Faithletic, the podcast, 4A state champs. How's that for you, Coach?
I like it. I'll be waiting on that banner to come in the mail.
It's coming.
Yes. Congratulations, Coach. You did it.
I appreciate it. I may or may not have crowned ourselves at a time or two. This is the first public crowning of our team from this year. So, but like we talked about earlier, with the status we're on, I'll take it wherever we can get it.
No kidding. Coach, the best to you and your family, to your wife, and we miss you, and we want to see you soon, brother. We love you.
Good. Thank you. Love you, too.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right. That was Coach Quinn Woolridge, head basketball coach, Bethany High School, just coming up short. Kyle, are you still there?
I'm still there.
Okay, if he hung up, then we're good. If not, I may have to reposition the call.
All right.
So, I mean, it's just got to be devastating for him to have to deal with, having to tell his kids, look, you're not going to get to play anymore this year. I mean, that's just got to be.
I absolutely cannot imagine that.
Yeah.
Like that's I think there's a lot of things that kind of make me sad within this. Like as I'm trying to, I don't know, come to grips with it even myself right now. I just can't imagine how those kids feel, and all these seniors specifically. I know we've talked about it, just a little bit, but like the fact that these seniors are missing just those last moments together, and it kind of just it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But it's out of our control, and I know, like somehow, I know some of the districts are going to make it up to some of those kids, but the basketball stuff, the sports stuff, like that's just kind of, it's just gone. And that's more unique than anything that I can even think of.
Yeah, I
right
agree.
now.
I agree. And, just not so much slanted towards sports. There's a lot of other things that got left out. Senior proms, graduation.
Right.
I mean, there's, we're talking about, and certainly, you know how I feel about sports, and I have a special, I guess a special sentimentalness towards, finishing your season and making sure you did everything you did and control you could control. But you got some kids who put 12 years of work in, and they're going to, obviously, they'll figure out something as far as graduation goes, but walking across getting that diploma is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And I can't imagine just even how parents feel about it right now.
No kidding. Oh, wow. Yeah. Good point.
So I don't know. It's hard to wrap. And I know that Quinn said it, but it's just hard to wrap my mind around anything that's going on right now. And I think that's okay. And that's one thing that I wanted to share off the cuff a little bit. Is just like, I think it's okay at this time to not have all the answers. I think it's okay to even be a little bit frustrated, because there is a lot of grieving within this. Like, there really is. There's people that are facing the actual 5 stages of grief because they're grieving right now. And like, as much as we almost feel like that's selfish right now because we're like, there's people dying. Like, yeah, but it still doesn't change the fact that everything in your own personal world just changed in a second, and that's hard to deal with. So, yeah, my heart goes out to Coach for sure, and all of those kids on just about every level.
No, I mean, that was a good question you asked. I mean, what the conversation's been like, and I'm sure there's some that are taking it worse than others. I think it's really hard on kids who never play another minute or down or quarter of organized sports. I mean, this is, some of them will move on, but it's only a small percentage of those get to play at another level, so they're done. And of course,
even like hearing that, like my heart went out to Coach there. Like you could tell, like, man, it really did hurt him. And so, like, I think of all of these college coaches to these high school coaches and everywhere in between, like, and all the kids, like, there's just so much. And we're talking about thousands of kids that are just, at some level heartbroken. But there is a general understanding, but it doesn't make it easier. So there's a lot of things going on in this world right now that we just can't explain.
Yeah, and we'll just hopefully that they move past it and it doesn't change their course of their life, and there's everything. You and I both have had things in our life that kind of change our trajectory. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Trajectory.
Yeah.
And it's just God's path. It changed for a reason. You have to accept it, and Some people adjust differently than others, and hopefully that our prayers go out to those kids that, their I guess you would call destiny to some degree has changed. It's different than what they thought it would be, and it won't probably be the last time they have to deal with it, and hopefully it just makes them a better person. So on our show tonight, a couple of things we talked about, obviously with all this going on, and I think we probably need to save this one because it'll take us longer to discuss, but what's going to happen to collegiate sports if there's no football season, and that may be something that we can bring up on our next show, because people, some people who aren't sports fans don't understand it, that college football funds most of collegiate sports for most schools. So
they almost fund just about everything at school.
Yeah. So, how's that going to affect going forward for next year if indeed the college football season gets canceled? And where I think a lot of people are missing this, and I understand that there's millions of people out of work right now due to certain aspects that can't work or are not deemed essential. But there's just so many people that are in that group of vendors and arena staff and just getting into all the things and parameters are involved in the NBA and NFL, because that's another thing too. NFL doesn't play. How many stadiums and arena staff and football stadiums and all those are part of that working force, and it just affects so many different people. So,
I don't know, Dan. I think, like you said, I think you saved the conversation as a whole just for next week. I think.
Yep, I agree
for sure. But yeah, I think it does affect just so much, and I'm praying and I'm hopeful that we will have sports by the end of the year. And it's not. I don't know. And I think it's just things that when it comes to our faith right now, I'm thinking that God is doing obviously something huge within our country, because you're seeing positivity, you're seeing all of this stuff happen. You're seeing kind of God take away our own little kingdoms and our own little things that we love, not in a bad way, but to kind of point everyone back to Him, I think. And so, but it's still hard to deal with, for sure. Doesn't make it any harder, but I just feel and know that the Lord is working through this.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. So, we'll come back to that here in a minute, because the devotion I had planned kind of gears towards that direction. So we thought we'd open up a discussion, the top running backs of all time in the NFL. Just to kind of stay on the sports and kind of be lighthearted, but at the same time, just stick to what our format is, which by our name Faithletic, where we talk about faith, we talk about sports, and we might incorporate a little bit of entertainment in there as well. So are we talking about maybe the top 10, or are we going beyond that?
So here is my thought, and there's one of the other shows that I love, podcast that I love, called Pardon My Take. Kind of stealing this idea from them, but I thought it was a great discussion. They have looked at that NFL released the top 100 players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back, however many months ago, but we didn't really have time much to talk about it because sports were actually happening.
Yeah.
And so they have 12 running backs actually made the list.
Okay.
Out of the top 100 players. And so they were, I'll just rattle them off real quick. Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Earl Campbell.
Okay.
Earl Dutch Clark. He played in the 1930s.
Yeah, I know he is.
Yep. Eric Dickerson,
Yeah.
Lenny Moore,
Okay.
Marion Motley.
Who's that?
He played from 1946 to 1953.
Don't even know who that is.
Yeah, so he's an older guy. Walter Payton,
Yep.
Barry Sanders,
Yep.
Gale Sayers, O.J. Simpson, which is interesting that they put him on there, and Emmett Smith.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Okay. So that was 12, correct?
Yes.
So how do you want to do this? Do we discuss that, or will you pick our top 5 of that group, or how do you want to do this?
I would say, who do you think maybe you could add to the list, and maybe subtract? Now, I'm not one of those guys that's like, I don't know anything about 1930s football.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put them in there because I don't know who they are.
Yeah, I assume they're good, so I don't necessarily want to take
maybe since the
off.
Super Bowl era. How's that?
Yeah, and so my thought was, is there anybody else that you thought maybe should have been a part of the discussion there?
Is Adrian Peterson in that list?
Adrian Peterson's not on the list.
So that's perhaps one.
Yep. My thought was LaDainian Tomlinson.
And that was another one I wrote down. Yep.
Marshall Faulk.
That was another one I wrote down.
Yeah, because Marshall Faulk to me he changed the running back position just by the fact that he was such a good receiver too, as well. So Marshall Faulk was big time on that list. Another guy that I thought was dominant but doesn't get a whole lot of play is Jamal Lewis, but he might not be on that list. He might be just on the outside looking in.
Well, I can name a couple here, and I jotted these down just for memory. So Jerome Bettis.
Yep.
Franco Harris.
Franco Harris.
Yep. Thurman Thomas.
Okay.
John Riggins.
John Riggins.
All right, and here's one I think you almost got to consider. Tony Dorsett.
Okay, Tony Dorsett. Tell me why.
He was a trendsetter. I mean, he was the first really. I mean, Gale Sayers kind of was his style, but he just changed the way defenses played. I mean, 77 he was rookie. Back then they didn't play rookies a whole lot, and the speed. I mean, he's the only guy in NFL history to, be able to run a 99-yard run with only 10 players on the field.
Right.
I mean, it's one of the most historical runs in NFL history. So I don't know if I put him in the top 12, but I certainly think he's warranted a discussion.
Yeah.
I probably would if you wipe OJ out from his criminal past or what do you want to call it, do you still put him in there?
Yeah. Who do you think now has the potential to be on that list in the NFL?
Oh boy. Ezekiel Elliott, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, he's got to get out of his own way, but I don't know. The running back position is getting so far pulled away from the NFL now. Todd Gurley's done.
Yeah.
And
he went to the Falcons, but he's as good as done.
He's done. I think. I mean, who's anybody that's in the same league with Elliott right now?
Christian McCaffrey would be the only one, but again, he's in his third. It'll be his fourth season. So I don't know. I think he's about the only one. I think there's some guys that have the potential, but the shelf life of a running back in the NFL is so short.
It is.
Like, that's the thing.
I don't know if you actually can have anybody at this point. I mean, is there anybody that's in discussion right now, realistically? Other than Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I McCaffrey I can see, but, I mean,
right.
He's really not. I mean, he's pretty good, but he's not really that good, I don't think. But
I think like guys that I see potential in right now that but they just won't touch the numbers because the shelf life is so short of a running back. Like, I would say that Alvin Kamara has that kind of talent, and I would say that Saquon Barkley has that kind of talent.
Well, there's one. There's one, yeah.
Yeah. Saquon, I think Saquon may be the only one in the NFL right now that has that potential just because he's built he's just built so strong. Like, I can't. But other than that, running backs are just, like, it's funny because the running back position is just so thought of like second nature now. We'll find somebody. I mean, look at Damian Williams this year for the Chiefs. They're just like, well, he'll make do.
Yeah.
Rather than, those days in the 90s where your team was almost built around the running back. I mean, you see Emmitt Smith and Thurman Thomas specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a running game anymore. It's a quarterback lead, it's a passing lead, and I don't know. Certainly the value of the running back is, I mean, you still need to have one. But I'm not sure the value of an NFL running back is what it was,
isn't that
20
weird?
years ago.
It's something interesting. Probably even about 10 years ago, because this whole throwing, becoming a throwing league has probably happened within the last 5 or 6 years. So, it's just crazy to me. Because even 10 years ago, Priest Holmes was running all over people, and he was, carrying the Chiefs. But, and then Tom Brady stepped into the league. Maybe that's when it changed, when Tom and Peyton really, started their passing battles, and Drew Brees. So those three might be, trailblazers.
Yeah, you look at that that list. I mean, and you used to, even back in the 80s, 90s, it was 1992 before the NFL actually had the leading rusher win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But you had to have a solid running back that could chew up yardage towards the end of the game to run the clock out. I mean, even if you didn't have a breakaway guy, you needed a bruiser, and that's why John Riggins was so effective, because they had that huge offensive line, the Hogs up front with the Redskins, and he could just punish a team in the final 15 minutes to where they just gave up. Basically, just beat teams into submission. And I'm not sure that there isn't too many of those running backs in the NFL right now. I mean, Barkley probably could qualify. Ezekiel Elliott certainly is. But after that, I mean, is McCaffrey that style?
No, he's not a guy that's going to run, just run you over. But he's a different style for sure. Like Jerome Bettis, he's as responsible for the success of the Steelers' offense in the late 90s, early 2000s than anybody, in my opinion. Because he was just like, I'm just going to run you over. that style running back has seen better days, which is almost sad to me because I think that you could see some strength versus strength, and like Derrick Henry might be the only one that is that bruiser type of running back that's going to run you over. So forgot that, like, no disrespect to Derrick Henry, but again, he's one of those older running backs that he's probably got last year, this year, and another year, and he's an afterthought though.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think that you certainly are going to have a lot better chance of having more wins than you are losses if you can run that clock out and pound people. And of course, you got to be ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a terrible offense, can't score points, that's not going to do you any good anyway. But
right.
if you got a less than 7-point lead, or think about it, even if it's more than 7 points or two, or let's say it's less than a score less. If you give the ball back to the other team, everybody generally plays this prevent defense anyway. It's almost likelihood they're going to get close enough to try to score.
Right.
So if you can keep the ball out of the other team's hands in the final, 3 or 4 minutes of the game where they never get the ball back, then you've got a whole lot better chance of winning a ball game.
Yeah, agreed. So I don't know. I think that the running back is a lost art right now. The bruiser running back, or just running backs in general. And I think that they're still incredibly important if you have a good one, or that you have a good enough coach that's going to scheme a mediocre running back. So, Dan, I just hope football comes back. That's all I'm hoping for right now.
I do too.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. I mean, they're trying to keep us entertained with the NFL draft. They're gonna do it through Zoom or whatever. So the world's zooming now. So it's just I definitely hope that that we get some sort of NFL season. I'm or a college football for that matter. Either one or both, obviously, but.
One thing we could look at next week too is the top 10 rankings that came out yesterday, the preseason top 10 rankings, or that's just going to make us really sad. So I don't know.
Well, we can talk about it. We're gonna plant the seeds, brother. I mean,
yeah,
gotta plan for the rain, right?
Yeah, I still think that. Like, they may delay the college football season, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think you could see it go into February. So I don't think they're going to cancel it yet. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if college football, because of the money that comes into the school, nobody's going to be quick to pull the trigger on that.
Oh, they're definitely not. They're going to weigh this out because the financial hardships this is going to cause, just like we talked about earlier, and we can discuss more next week. I think first part of our show, maybe we talk about the impact that if they do cancel, and then it's the second part of the show. We're going to plan that they're going to have it. We're going to do our top 10s. So, I think. Are you?
I agree.
Yep. All right, Manny. Before I go into devotion, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that I shared a little bit about what I felt, and I think it's okay. Like I said earlier, that it's okay to feel down. That I think a lot of people that there's just that cloud over us right now, this pandemic cloud, and I just want people to know that they're not alone in this. Like, it's just a normal feeling right now. So, that's my hope and my prayer, is that people would realize, hey, we may be far apart, but we're not alone right now.
Absolutely.
We're in this together.
Absolutely. So, I want to share. This has been on my mind. I actually have a whole message this is actually not tied into, but it is the same. same theme, which I talked about a little bit last week, and it's titled simply "Fear versus Faith." And one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible talks about the fear versus faith, and it refers to 2 Timothy. But I'll kind of give you a backdrop on that. So Jesus and his disciples started sailing across the Sea of Galilee. Sometimes during that evening, the storm begins to brew. A great wind blows hard, and waves beat up the ship. The deck begins to fill with water. Can you picture the disciples running around frantically trying to decide what to do? Did this storm mean death? Suddenly, someone realizes that Jesus is nowhere in sight. Perhaps they feared that he had been thrown into the raging sea by force of the waves. A disciple near the stern of the ship finally locates Jesus. There he is in the midst of the storm, sound asleep. The disciples wake him, saying, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Of course, that comes from Mark 4:38. Jesus rises up and does something they have never seen before. He rebukes the wind and says to the sea, "Quiet, be still." In the moment, the wind ceases and great calm descends. Jesus says to the disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Amazed at what they witnessed, the disciples asked, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." That's Mark 4:41.
Yes.
Have you had days when the storms of the trial rage around you, seasons when waves of despair tossed you about? Do you seem like Jesus is nowhere in sight? All along, Jesus was right there by your side. I lost my train of thought there. All along, Jesus was with you in your trials, ready to help you, and you were only to call on him. How often do we live in the spirit of fear instead of faithfully calling on him? Fear and faith are complete opposites. They cannot reign in the same heart. While fear cowers, faith stands. While fear frets, faith prays. While fear looks within, faith looks to Jesus. While fear despair, faith hopes. Are you like the disciples who do not know what manner of the man Jesus was? Do you know that he is Lord of all? Whatever trials assail you, Jesus can rebuke them and say, "Quiet, be still." Call on him in faith, and he will answer. Fear not, Christians. And then the scripture that this is referring to, or is tying in, is 2 Timothy 1:7. For God do not give us a spirit of timidity, but of spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline.
That's right.
Yep. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and I think that for Timothy specifically, who that was written to at that time, he is facing a lot of worry in the midst of chaos because Paul is being thrown into prison. You have King Nero, that is like this horrible, horrible emperor, Roman Empire at the time. Like, it's a lot of worry and confusion. And Paul knows that that's how Timothy is feeling. And he says, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of love and power and self-control. So
correct.
That's one of my favorite scriptures. And it is actually, I'm teaching that to our students on Tuesday.
No way.
As well. So, yeah. So I'm excited about that, looking at 2 Timothy. So yeah. Thank you for that, Dan. I appreciate it.
No problem. We do think alike sometimes, man.
No, we do, definitely.
All right. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight, and we hope that everybody's taking care of themselves. If they're quarantining, then just, don't go stir crazy. It's, trust in Jesus and know that he has a plan. And if you're out working, we certainly pray for protection. I've got one of my very dear friends that you've heard me refer to quite often is a head hospitalist at a hospital in Alaska, and he is dealing with patients every day. And obviously he's got a family and he's got a job to do, and he's a strong Christian man. And I talked to him yesterday on the phone. He knows that God's in control, but he's a little afraid. He just wants to, he definitely takes the precautions, and the hospital he works for or works with, they're actually separated. He's part of an independent group that of doctors that work in this hospital, and he's the head guy. So he sees hundreds of patients a day, and fortunately, he's in an area where the positive test haven't been very prominent, but he's dealt with those who have the symptoms, and he's concerned. So it's just everyday thing we're all worried about.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm praying for all of those people right now as well, and hopefully just trying to find little glimpses of joy here and there. That's what I'm trying to do right now. WrestleMania 2 nights this weekend, so that's one of my glimmers of joy.
What's 2 nights? I mean, what are they doing there? Is that just the Hall of Fame one night and the wrestling the other, or what? What are they doing?
No, it is wrestling both nights.
Okay.
They're doing 2 shows in 1 night, or 2 nights basically. So that is what Wrestle Kingdom does in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so they've kind of modeled, and they've decided, since all eyes are captive right now, so they're going to go ahead and do this. So anyway,
question is, what's the headline?
It was Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. I'm not really sure right now, but Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre is a big one, and then Charlotte Flair is going up against Rhea Ripley.
Okay,
and that is going to be a huge one.
Is that the one from NXT?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And she's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that matchup.
I really haven't.
Other than that, I'm an AEW guy.
Yeah, I am too,
so
but I haven't been watching it, so I need to get caught up.
Yeah, new title. So
I heard that. I saw that. That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Like television
so we'll
title,
talk about
basically.
that next week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. All right.
Yep.
You've been listening to Faithletic, the podcast. It is the newest, hottest thing in podcast America, and it's every Thursday night at 8 p.m. We combine a little bit of faith, a little bit of athletics, a little bit of entertainment, and we certainly have a little bit of ourselves, and that may be the downside of it, but we're certainly having fun. All right, big man. I love you, brother. We'll see you next week. See everybody out there.
Too.
All right, buddy. Take care. Faithletic, the podcast. See you at 8 p.m. next Thursday. If you didn't catch all our show, all broadcasts are loaded on YouTube. This one tonight will be loaded tomorrow. There's 22 prior episodes that you can go to YouTube, Faithletic, the YouTube channel, and you can go check out our previous broadcast. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.